My name is Erin Durham. Today is October 3rd of 2018. I am working on the lab exercise, microbiology, laboratory preparation. For this week, I'll be going over the time allocations for the microbiology lessons. I have went ahead and labeled all of the lessons for which week they pertain to. Using this table, table 1, I'll be filling out the data table on the lab report assistant. In this box, I'm putting the lesson, which week. Following, this is the due date, the active culture, so the time that the active culture may need to take to prep, plate pouring. This one is then the active time, the incubation time, and then the total amount of time that it will take for that lesson. With the time allocations for each of the lessons, I am going to fill out my calendars. I have one for September and one for October to cover the full length of this course. On this side, I've labeled which week I have, so week 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That way you can match it up with the lesson. I also have on every Monday at 8 a.m. I have the due dates for each of the lessons, and that is the same for my October calendar here. So in this box, I have the start of fall 1, which will be the start of lesson 1. So looking down here, I will use the time allocations form to go ahead and fill out my calendar. So for week 2, the aseptic technique in culturing microbes, there's no active cultures and there's 1 hour of plate pouring. So I'm going to decide to go ahead and start on a Wednesday. So for the week 2 aseptic technique, there's a 1 hour of plate pouring. So I'll go fill that in on a Tuesday. The active time is about 3 hours. And then my incubation is 1 to 3 days. So I will start on Wednesday, and I'm going to go ahead and count over 3 days, just to kind of give myself that time frame. So we'll go 1, 2, and 3. And by Saturday, I'm going to be checking on the status of that plate pouring. This experiment takes a total of 3 days. We're going to go septic. Okay, and then for the second lab is bacterial enumeration. There's no active culture. It's 1 hour plate pouring. So I can go ahead and take over plate pouring. And it's going to be 1 to 3 days. So this one follows about the same schedule as the other lab for that week. So I can keep it on the same rotating. Okay, for week 3, there's going to be a bacterial morphology and staining technique. It's 1 to 3 days with an active culture. So I am going to start on a Tuesday on this one. There's no plate pouring, and it's a 3 hour active time. So I will give this 1 to 3 days, 1, 2, 3, and hopefully by Friday I can look at this active culture. There's no incubation time, and it's an average of 3 days as well. That will be the only lab for week 3. There's actually going to be the microscope for microbiology. So there's no active culture, no plate pouring. The active time is 3.5 hours. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule that on Wednesday since my other things will be in an active culture. That way I have that amount of time. Look under the microscope, record. So it says 3.5 hours is the time allocation for that lesson. Okay, for week 4, there's another 2 lessons. Bacteria identification through functional media. So 1 to 3 days for an active culture. So I'll go ahead and start on the Tuesday again. Go to active. And then I will finish on that Friday for the active culture. The active time is going to be 3 hours on Tuesday. Incubations, 1 to 3 days. And it's a total of 5. So I will finish on that Sunday before it's due on the following Monday on October 1st. So I also have biochemical testing for microbial identification. That's being the methane red test. This is 1 to 3 days with active culture. It's the same time allocation as the first lab. So I will make use of the same schedule. I'm going to go ahead and write it in. Material morph. So that day will consist of 6 hours approximately of the lesson. So that will be September's calendar, and then we're going to carry on to October's calendar for the remaining weeks. For week 5, the biochemical testing for micro-identification needs 1 to 3 days for an active. No plate pouring. It's a 3-hour active time, 1 to 3 days of incubation. So I'm going to start on a Tuesday again, like I do with all my active cultures that require 1 to 3 days. Times 3 days, times 3 hours. And again, on that Friday, that active culture. Okay, that was an incubation. And then this is going to be a total of 5 days. I will be finishing by the 7th before the October 8th due date. Now for week 6, I'll be doing environmental influences. There's 1 to 3 days of active culture, no plate pouring, a 3-hour active time, 1 to 3 days in incubation, and it's a 5-day total. So it's going to be just like week 5's lab. It's basically exactly the same for timeline. And I will be finishing the Sunday before the actual due date. Week 7, I have antibiotic sensitivity. 1 to 3 days for an active culture. There's 1 hour plate pouring, active time of 3 hours, 1 to 3 days in incubation, and then average time is 5 days. So it's similar to week 6, but there is a 1 hour plate pouring. So again, I'm going to start on a Tuesday like I have with all my active cultures, times 3 days. And I got a 1 hour plate pouring that day. The active time will be 3 hours. On that Friday, I will go ahead and check my active culture. And I'll be finishing on the Sunday before the due date of October 22nd. For week 8, there is no lab. Although I have marked lab due, I wasn't aware that there wasn't. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a glimpse kind of at my calendars. So here's October. October is following September. So in the weeks, I'm usually starting on Tuesday or Wednesday. and checking my incubations on a Friday or Saturday. That way I have time to complete the uploading and editing of my video, as well as the live report assistant, so I can have everything submitted by Monday morning. The next exercise for week 1 is going to be the incubation site. So I've already listed some places here. I have the downstairs hall closet, laundry room, upstairs hall closet, and my personal closet. I'm going to go ahead and give you a tour around the house and show you those locations, and from there we'll go ahead and discuss whether they are going to be an okay location. So my house stays at basically 78 degrees all the time. That's what the thermostat is constantly set at, so that helps a little bit. Okay, so the downstairs hall closet. This closet here, there is no light in this closet. There is no vents. It's close to the garage, so when it is warm, it does get a little warmer in there. But there's no drafts, there's no vents, there's no windows, no lights, no natural light. So when I did my thermostat temperature for this room, it was actually 80 degrees. I plan on using this for my incubation location. I have added a box up here. It says, my screen will kind of zoom. Do not touch incubation location, cultures inside. That's to kind of deter anybody from the closet, although it's not highly active. There's only a vacuum and ironing boards in there. So when I marked this chart, I did say it's secure from children and pets. The door remains closed. I can kind of like keep it away from everyone because it is going to be my incubation location. I'll put a sign on the door. That way people stay out. But it is up on a shelf, and I don't see there being any issues. The laundry room. Here's the laundry room. Now, there's a lot of chemicals and things in here that are on higher shelves away from children, and I thought that maybe I could put my box up on the highest shelf, thinking that it might be a safe place, but I can't really secure this area away from children and pets like I can the laundry room. I can kind of close, or the hall closet, because I can close it off. This room is used weekly for laundry. So I'm not going to be using this room. Also, there are vents for the AC, so if it gets too cold in here, I wouldn't want that to mess with my incubation time. There's also, as you can see, there is a light in here. It's not a natural light, but it is direct fluorescent light, so I'm not going to be using this room as my incubation site. But it was a contender. So going upstairs, the reason I thought maybe upstairs it'd be a little warmer than it is downstairs. Like I said, my house is usually at 78 degrees. Okay, so my other option was going to be a hall closet. So right now there's just towels in here, and I was going to clear it out for the incubation location. But as you can see, this closet is in a hallway, so I figured it's kind of high traffic and it is accessible to kids. I have a 10-year-old sister in the home and a 3-year-old, so I didn't think it was very secure, even though there's no drafts and there's obviously no light as long as you keep the door closed. But for security reasons, I will not be using the hall closet. And lastly, my personal closet. I do not have doors on my closet, so that poses a security reason. And then I really just don't want the labs, the cultures, to be exposed to my clothing or anything else. This is kind of my area for my things. So I will not be using that, even though I do store some lab materials in that box. I will not be using this for an incubation location. 1, for security reasons. 2, as if you look up, there is a vent for the AC, so there's draft. I have my window right across from my closet, so natural light, as well as the fluorescent light that will be coming off my lamp. So I will not be using this room because it kind of checks all the boxes in it as a yes. So it is not an ideal location. So I will be using the downstairs hall closet for my incubation site. The temperature is at 80, like I said before. I let the little thermometer sit in there for a day. And that will be the end of this video for week 1. Thank you for watching.